Hello and welcome back to my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie review. I guess this can be part two or whatever you want to call it. In this video, we're actually going to go through the movie, break it down, talk about it and stuff. So I'm going to do what I usually do for my movie reviews, where I just kind of go through the entire movie scene by scene, and I'll throw up screen grabs and stuff like that as we discuss it. So with that said, let's start the show. So we start off the movie with April O'Neil, and she's doing a news report. So in this version, she's a reporter. In the original Mirage comic, she's not. She's actually Baxter Saxon's assistant, which is funny because Baxter was actually supposed to make an appearance in this movie. He was going to be like a side villain, but they ended up cutting his part out, which I think makes sense. I think the first movie should have just focused on just Splinter and the Foot Clan, which they did. But yeah, we have a good opening where April is doing a news report about crime waves, and as that's happening, we get montages of basically a bunch of kids and teenagers going around and stealing stuff. So like we have kids stealing wallets and then handing them off until eventually like we see a Foot Clan hand come up and take the wallet, which was kind of funny to see. We have them like stealing cargo out of a delivery truck. We have them stealing TVs. Where it's basically just a warning about this sudden rise in crime and how the police don't really seem to be able to do anything. How like the few witnesses that they have are able to identify the teenagers. Like teenagers seem to be the ones behind this crime spree. And we see the teenagers, and it's like late at night, and they rush to this warehouse where we see them unpacking all the packages that they've stolen, taking the items out, and redistributing them. I'm assuming that they're gonna like sell them or something, but it seems like they keep a lot of it. So I'm not sure how exactly they're making. I guess maybe they're making money by stealing wallets and purses and stuff. But yeah, I thought this was like kind of an interesting take where we have teenagers and kids working for the Foot Clan and basically being Foot Clan soldiers in a sense. I mean, it seems like most of the ninjas are adults, but it seems like the teenagers, like you start off like stealing and things like that, and then you work your way up to becoming a ninja. So yeah, we have that April O'Neil. She's leaving Channel 3 News. So yeah, and in this movie it's Channel 3 instead of Channel 6. And along the way she gets attacked by a bunch of juveniles. Well, what happens is she's heading towards her van when she sees a bunch of teenagers stealing from her van, and they're basically stealing like equipment that she uses for her shoots. And then they attack her and they try to steal her purse. When all of a sudden we see a sigh, Raphael's sigh flies and hits the light, and everything goes dark. And then we just see, we don't see, we hear the turtles beating up April's attackers. And then all of a sudden the cops show up, and the headlights like illuminate, and we see the teenagers all tied up, and the turtles are kind of watching this from the sewers, like they've made their way back in. And that's when Raphael realizes, ah, crap, like I forgot to take my side. Like the side that I used to throw out the light, I didn't grab it. And April notices it, and she grabs it and puts it back in her bag. And yeah, Raphael's now without a side, and he's upset because I don't want to say he technically got caught, but he lost one of his weapons. And he's like, damn it, like I screwed up. And we see the turtles, and they're heading through the sewers. They're heading towards their home. They're all celebrating. They're all happy. This is the very first time that they've gone out and used their ninja skills that they've learned and practiced and stuff. This is the first time that they've actually used it in a real life situation, and they feel like they did a really great job. And this is when we see Splinter and stuff like that. And like I said, Splinter, you can really tell he's an animatronic, but I think especially the hands. But I still think it's a great job. It's an animatronic, but it's an animatronic that really still holds up. And I wish that future live action Ninja Turtle movies or TV shows, whatever, like if you're gonna do any kind of live action adaptation of Ninja Turtles, I wish and I hope and I pray that they go back to the animatronic look in this, with the rubber suits and all that stuff, because like I said, it holds up beautifully. But yeah, the turtles are they're celebrating. Splinter wants them to meditate, but Michelangelo and Donatello start dancing and partying and stuff like that. It's kind of interesting to see Donatello being a lot more of a party dude, because I'm so used to him being like the serious inventor. Like, I mean, he's not as serious as Leonardo, but yeah, Donatello is like the logical guy. But in this movie, he's more he's basically like a second Michelangelo. In fact, speaking of, he's also the skateboarder in the group. Which again is like, that's supposed to be Michelangelo's shtick. Michelangelo is the skateboarder. He's the party dude, not Donatello. But yeah, Donatello does it. But yeah, they order some pizza. Raphael goes to go watch a movie because he's still upset about leaving his side, so he takes off to kind of cool his head, and yeah, apparently he goes to watch the movie Critters, which is funny because originally apparently he was supposed to come out of watching Batman, and I guess the line was going to be cool effects, terrible costume. So basically, it was supposed to be like a dig at Batman. But yeah, meanwhile, Michelangelo and Donatello are waiting for their pizza, and Michelangelo is like, if this guy doesn't show up in 30 seconds, we get, $3 off. And the guy eventually shows up, and we get like a funny gag where he's trying to find the address, but it doesn't make any sense. And all of a sudden, Michelangelo's voice comes from like the sewer grate. And then he just like, it's like, hey, I could just slip the pizza down here, dude. And he, slides a $10 bill out. And then the guy gets upset. He's like, it's supposed to be 13. He's like, yeah, you were 30 seconds late, so it's $3 off. So yeah, it was a nice, good, funny little gag. Raphael, like I said, he watches a movie. He comes out and he's walking through the city in his little fedora and trench coat disguise. And I'm just kind of wondering how no one recognizes him. Still, like, that disguise doesn't hide his feet. It doesn't hide his hands. I mean, I guess he has his hands in his trench coat pocket, but it doesn't really hide his face. I guess this New York, and New York really doesn't give a crap and pay attention to other people. Maybe they're just used to seeing like weird, deformed-looking people or something. I don't know. But yeah, no one seems to pay attention to him, and he witnesses this old woman get her bag stolen, and Raphael trips him, gives the purse bag to the old lady, and he flashes his side like, you don't want to mess with me. And the kids take off, and they rush into the park, and that's when they get ambushed by Casey Jones, and we see Casey Jones' first appearance in this movie. Yeah, Casey Jones pulls out his hockey stick, starts beating up on these kids, and I think he's like maybe going to kill one of them. He knocks him down, he raises it up, and he's about to like bash one of them in the face when Raphael comes in and kind of pushes him from behind. He's like, they're done. Like, you don't gotta take it that far. And the guys rush out, and that's when we get a face off between Casey and Raphael. And it's like, all right, this is the Raphael micro series, Me, Myself, and I, where Casey makes his first appearance. Like, this is like the adaptation from that. Different, obviously. Like, we don't really get Casey's backstory. In fact, I don't think we get Casey's backstory at all in this entire movie. The only thing we ever find out is that he used to play hockey. I guess he got injured and now he can't anymore. But that's it. Like, we don't get anything from his backstory. In this, they fight each other. They use bats at first. Eventually, Casey busts out his cricket bat, hits Raphael in the face, and sends him flying into trash cans. And then that's when Casey uses that chance to escape and calls Raph a freak, which just makes Raph even more pissed off. And he tries to chase after Casey, but he isn't able to track him down. And so he heads back home, just really pissed off. Like, this day is just getting worse and worse. And that's when Splinter, talks with him and tells him you kind of have like an anger problem, and you need to work on that. You can't let that anger alienate yourself from your brothers. Get it under control. Yeah, the next day we see April, and she's in her apartment talking to her boss. I don't know why her boss and her boss's son is in her apartment. That's just kind of weird to me. Like, I would think like, oh, she'll see her boss at work. Like, why is he showing up to her apartment with his kid to talk to her about the attack the previous night? maybe he came in that morning just to see if she was okay. I guess that could make kind of sense. But yeah, the boss's son, his name is Danny. We saw him earlier. He's he works with the Foot Clan. We saw him steal someone's wallet. And here we see him steal money out of April's purse. And yeah, Danny's a character this movie could have done without. I don't know if the kid was supposed to be in there for the audience, to like the children watching, to kind of, see themselves as. I don't think that really works, especially since he plays most of this movie as a villain. I mean, he has his like redemption arc and stuff like that, but we could have taken him out and not lose anything. Put the time that we have focused on him onto other things. But yeah, we see that April goes and has an interview with the NYPD chief, and basically kind of makes a fool of him. Like she pretty much says, like, we have this crime wave. What are you doing about it? And the chief kind of regurgitates this like word salad, and she's like, how about you try repeating that again, this time in English? Like, what exactly are you doing to fix the crime that's happening in our city? And the chief gets pissed off at her and berates her and stuff like that. And she leaves, and like the interview's done, and she's heading down to the subway. She misses her train. Subway's empty, which is weird. I don't think a subway is ever going to be empty, especially in New York City. I've had to take subways a lot of times when I was going to university. And yeah, even like the few times when I've missed my train and stuff like that, like, I mean, the places are always packed, especially in the cities. But we had to have this so we can have a moment with her being attacked by the Foot Clan. And you might be wondering, why are the Foot Clan attacking April? And it's because during one of her newscasts, she mentions the Foot Clan by name. She mentions how she was talking to some Japanese immigrants, and the Japanese immigrants told her that the crime wave is very reminiscent of a crime wave that happened back in their home country, and that the crime there was done by a clan called the Foot Clan, a bunch of ninjas. And so April mentions them by name. Shredder sees this, and he sends people to send her a message. Like he's like, get her to shut up. She's in this empty subway. The Foot Clan shows up, and it's kind of funny because they're like, our master has a message for you. And he holds out his hand, and he like unfolds his fingers, and April looks, and it's just an empty hand. She's kind of confused, and then he slaps her in the face. And I'm just like, I don't know why, but that just made me kind of laugh. That moment. And yeah, the slap, I guess, knocks her out. And that's when Raphael shows up, and he attacks the Foot Clan, and he grabs April, and he escapes with her into the sewers. And he doesn't realize that one of the Foot Clan, one of the ninjas, is actually following him as he makes his way into the sewers. So he makes his way to the home base, puts her on the couch, and eventually she wakes up and she sees Splinter. She freaks out. She sees the turtle. She freaks out. She thinks it's like a dream or whatever. And then that's when Splinter goes into his story. So yeah, this is very reminiscent of issue number 2, where the turtles save April. They save her in the sewers. In this one, they save her in the subway, and then they bring her back to her, their base, where Splinter tells her the origin story. We all know the origin story, but for anyone who doesn't, yeah, basically, Splinter was a rat who had a master that he would watch do his kung fu, his ninjutsu, and he would mimic the moves. And then eventually his master was attacked, and he found himself in the sewers, where he found a broken fishbowl with turtles walking on this green ooze. And he put them inside a coffee can, and he took them back to his home. And he realized the next day that they were getting bigger. And not only were they getting bigger, but he was getting bigger too. And then eventually they started talking and started becoming more humanoid, and so as well as himself. And yeah, that's when he taught them, like, his ninjutsu and stuff. I will say that the flashbacks, I mean, you can tell it's like animatronics and stuff and puppetry and things, but I think it still looks pretty good, especially for an independent movie that came out in 1990. I think the visuals still were good. Still pretty much hold up but to today's standards. I mean, obviously it could be better, but I think it still does a pretty good job. And I like how like when we see them growing up bigger, like they actually look like their comic book counterpart. But yeah, they tell her the story. They escort her back to her home, which is above an antique shop. And she's like, I wish I could like invite you guys up to thank you, but all I have is some frozen pizza. And then we have a funny moment where like Michelangelo shoots out of the sewers. He's like, "Did you say pizza?" And all the other turtles get excited. They're like, "Hey, I heard pizza," because they're huge pizza fanatics. So she invites them in, and they go inside and they eat pizza. They tell jokes. They have fun. It's basically a nice little bonding moment between April and the turtles. So then after that little moment, they head back home, the turtles, and they see that their place is destroyed and Splinter is missing. So this is very much reminiscent of, I think, issue 3 of the comic. Only in that one it was Mousers that attacked the home base and injured Master Splinter. But in here it's the Foot Clan. The Foot Clan, one of them was able to follow Raphael and stuff, and I guess he relayed orders back to the rest of his Foot Clan ninjas, and they went and they attacked the place, made a mess of it, kidnapped Master Splinter. And so the turtles went nowhere else to go, head back to April's apartment. And that's when we get a cut of the police chief, and he has Danny in custody because Danny was caught stealing. And the police chief calls April's boss and basically tells the boss, like, "Hey, like, we have your son. We'll go easy on him." Like, we don't really see this, but this is implied. "We'll go easy on him if you get April to knock it off. Like, she's constantly attacking us and the police force and stuff like that, making fools of us. Get her to stop, and we'll brush this incident with your son under the rug." And so the next morning, the boss shows up with Danny, and we have comical gags where the turtles have to hide so that the boss and Danny don't see them. And we have moments where they get almost found out multiple times. We actually have a moment where Danny sees one of the turtles in the mirror, but when he looks, the turtle is gone. So we have that moment. We immediately cut to Danny and his dad driving in traffic, and his dad's like berating him, like, "Why are you shoplifting?" And Danny rushes out and he runs to the Foot Clan base, and we get a shot of the base, and it's just basically a bunch of teenagers playing video games, gambling, playing on the guitar, spray painting, smoking cigarettes, just drinking alcohol, just basically being rebels to society and all that jazz. We see Tatsu, and Tatsu's walking around and he's surveying all the teenagers and stuff. He eventually goes back to like one of the back rooms where we see some of the ninjas in training, and he watches some of them fight, and then he gets involved and basically tries to teach them how to fight better and stuff. And then that's when Shredder makes his appearance. So we hear this giant gong noise, and everyone rushes over, and Shredder makes his appearance. And I was like, okay, Shredder's design looks pretty cool in this. But yeah, Shredder basically addresses all the Foot Clan and the teenagers. Basically, says that society has tossed you out. You have no family, no home, but this is your family now. This is your new home, and I am your father. He mentions that there are these creatures that I want you to go after, the turtles. And that's when Danny speaks up and basically says that he knows the turtles' location. And we see April, and she does another news report. And once again, she takes shots at the police chief. Basically says that the Foot Clan are involved, according to the Japanese immigrants that I've spoke to. I was attacked, but thankfully for New York civilians helped me, and I want to thank them. And then she thanks Raphael. Basically, she kind of calls out the police chief, and the police chief gets upset, and he calls April's boss. And during this, we see the turtles, and they're watching the news report, and Raphael gets upset. He's like, what the hell are we doing? Like, Splinter is out there, he's missing, and we're here goofing off, watching TV and stuff. Like, what are we doing? Why aren't we out there trying to find him? And Leonardo is like, April is the only one that has any clues on the Foot Ninja. Like, and we gotta wait for her to come up with some more information. But until then, we should just wait until she has more information that we can use. Like, we shouldn't be rushing out and, maybe exposing herself or anything like that. Raphael, he gets pissed off. He goes on top of the rooftops and starts just kind of doing his ninjutsu and punching the air and stuff and just trying to take out his frustrations. And several rooftops over, we see Casey Jones hanging out on the rooftop trying to listen to the radio, and he spots Raphael and recognizes him as the guy he fought, just the other night. All of a sudden, Raphael gets attacked by the Foot Clan. And I was like, oh, okay, I know where this is going. This is like that one issue. I forgot what the hell the issue was called, but it was one of my favorite issues where the Foot attacks the turtles at April's house. Only in the comic, they attack Leonardo. But in here, they attack Raphael. And so, yeah, they attack Raphael. Raphael puts up a good fight. In fact, he actually starts kicking their butt at first until they start overpowering him. I will say here, I didn't care for the musical choice. I'm not going to play anything because YouTube is very quick to hit copyright strikes and stuff like that. So I'm not going to play the music. But the music is too family friendly. I don't know what I used to use. It's too upbeat. And it's like, this is a fight scene where Raphael is being outnumbered and being attacked by the Foot Clan. This should be like a more serious song, a more serious theme should be playing. And I think this goes back to where Steve Barron wanted more of a punk soundtrack. And instead, the producers stepped in and were like, no, we got to be more commercial friendly. And this is, again, where it's like, I want to see Steve Barron's final cut. I want to see how he envisioned this scene. I think if you add like some punk music to this fight scene, either using like actual licensed punk songs or just original song with a punk theme, I think it would fit a lot better than the Saturday morning cartoon upbeat sitcom theme that's playing during the fight. But yeah, they start beating up on Raphael. And then April, meanwhile, is showing the turtles, like, the antique store that belonged to her father. They're kind of goofing off and having fun and enjoying themselves as their brother is being attacked on the roof. Eventually, they go back upstairs. Like, oh, we just got to let Raphael blow off some steam. And then that's when Raphael gets thrown through the skylight and he crashes down. All the Foot Ninjas break in to April's apartment. And this is when we get the big fight scene with all the turtles fighting against the Foot Clan. We got some like goofy moments where we have Donatello spinning Michelangelo on his back, and Michelangelo is like punching all the Foot Clan ninjas. We have a scene where one of the Foot Clan uses nunchucks, and Michelangelo's all excited because he's like, oh, another nunchucker. And they're basically having a face-off to see who can do like the coolest nunchuck moves. So like the Foot Clan ninja will start doing his nunchuck moves, and then Michelangelo will do his. And basically they keep one-upping each other. Yeah, so again, I kind of wish, like, especially because like in the comic books, this issue is really serious and grim and stuff. Like it's basically like the Raid, the movie The Raid, only with the Ninja Turtles. Because like this is the moment where April's apartment gets trashed, where the turtles get their ass beat by the Foot Clan, where April's antique shop that her father used to own and run before he died, where it all comes burning down. Like she loses everything, and the scene in the movie is played comical. At least it's played comical at first. Like they're having fun. They're doing crazy kitty moves. We have scenes where like they're bonking ninja heads. The turtles are getting dunked into a fish tank. It's kind of goofy. And it doesn't get more serious until they make their way down into the antique shop. And then that's when Tatsu and all the other, like he has a bunch of backup show up. during this fight, Casey Jones shows up to help. And again, it's comical at first until we get to a part where a fire starts. And then when everything starts burning, that's when it starts becoming more serious. And I'm just kind of thinking it would have been cooler if it was serious the entire time. It can be comical at first when Raphael's first fighting the Foot Clan, and we're having scenes where he's beating them up, and then he's like, is that all you got? And then when more show up, then that's when he should be taking it more seriously. And again, it can still remain comical where we have the turtles downstairs and they're having fun goofing off in the antique shop. Meanwhile, their brother's getting his ass kicked upstairs. But as soon as Raphael gets thrown through the skylight and he's unconscious on the floor, beaten up, and all the ninjas show up, that's when I wish the mood would have switched to something more serious, and the music would have switched to more serious, and everything would have been taken more serious and gritty, and we wouldn't have the turtles doing a bunch of one-liners and goofing off as they're fighting these ninjas. I wish it would have been more serious. Like, this is a serious moment. One of your brothers is unconscious and beat up. This woman who you just befriended, her place is being smashed to pieces. Her father's store is being broken and burnt. Like, I wish it would have been more serious. But eventually it gets there. The turtles are able to make their escape, and Casey's like holding off the final ninja. And as he's holding off the Foot Clan, April's boss calls and basically says that she's fired. And then that's when Casey follows after the turtles, and they jump inside the minivan, and they drive to April's farmhouse. And I was like, oh, okay, that's different, because in the comics, it's Casey's farmhouse. It belongs to Casey's family, not April. But instead of that, they make it April's farmhouse. I was like, that was kind of a wasted opportunity. And I know you might be thinking, well, it doesn't really matter who owns the farmhouse, just as long as someone owns the farmhouse. And I was like, no, it would have been better if they had kept it as Casey's farmhouse, because now you could have used this to show some backstory for Casey. Because like I said, Casey has no backstory at all in this movie. The only backstory he has is one line of dialogue where he says, I used to play back before the injury happened. That's it. That's all we know about his past. We don't know anything about his family. We don't know what he does other than apparently fighting criminals on the street. Like, we have nothing about his backstory. So if they had kept it as his farmhouse, we could have had a moment where we find out more of his history. So I thought that was kind of like a wasted opportunity. But yeah, as they're in the farmhouse, we cut back to the Ninja Clan hideout, where we see that Shredder has Splinter held hostage, and he has Splinter chained up. He's pissed off that the Foot Clan wasn't able to fight the turtles. Yeah, he basically leaves, and Tatsu is the one that shows off his anger, and Tatsu starts throwing things. He starts pushing over people. There's one scene where he punches one of the Ninja Clan ninjas in the face, knocks him down, and another ninja runs up, pulls off his mask, and looks at him, and basically says, "Oh, he's going to be okay." And this is the moment where, in the original script, Tatsu kills this guy. He doesn't just knock him out; he actually kills him. Like, he hits him so hard that he dies, and that's why everyone's reaction is very grim, because the scene is acted as if he's dead, but apparently it was too dark for the producers, so during post-production they edited in some lines, this fake voiceover of, oh, he's breathing, he's gonna be okay. And I was like, damn it, could have made Tatsu just seem even more like of a villain by having him kill one of his own men in anger. Danny, he finds Splinter, and he starts talking to Splinter, and basically that's when Danny mentions how his dad doesn't care for him and stuff, and Splinter's like, that's not true. Like, every father loves their son. And yeah, Splinter's basically tells him the path that you're going to is probably because you don't have anyone to talk to and stuff, but I'm always here, and I'm always willing to listen anytime you want to talk. So this is the beginning of Danny's redemption arc. But yeah, we go back to the farmhouse, where we see the turtles kind of licking their wounds, recovering from their very first defeats. We see a little bit of Casey and April getting closer together, and their relationship kind of blossoming. Apparently there was supposed to be actually more of that happening. There's supposed to be more moments of that, but I guess that got cut out. Also, there is a moment where we see Raphael on top of the rooftop, and he's, screaming like Splinter, like because he misses Splinter and stuff. The funny thing is that if you actually pay attention, it's actually Michelangelo. Turtle's wearing an orange headband, but apparently they redubbed the line to have Raphael say it. Originally, there were supposed to be more scenes in the farmhouse, and we were supposed to have Michelangelo as the one that takes this the hardest, because he's the one that he really sees Splinter as like his father figure, and he's the one that's really bummed out and saddened that Splinter is possibly dead. So Michelangelo is the one that actually takes it the hardest. I guess the producers felt like that took away from Raphael's whole arc, so they redubbed that line with him. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, maybe it seems like the producers really loved Raphael and wanted him to be the more focal point, because like he gets a lot of like Leonardo's role, a lot of Michelangelo's role from the comics. But yeah, we even have the a scene where April's like doing like a diary, and she's drawing sketches of the turtles and talking about how each of them is handling and dealing with the aftermath of the battle with the ninjas. So I was like, okay. I mean, I hated that issue. I didn't hate it. I found it boring. Yeah, it's nice whenever like movies or TV shows, whatever, where they actually like faithfully like adapt stuff from their source material. So it was nice to see that in here. I will say there is this funny moment where like it wasn't supposed to be funny, but April's talking about how each of the ninjas is handling things. Like Donatello is trying to fix up a truck with Casey. Leonardo is basically standing guard over Raphael and waiting for him to wake up. And we see Raphael, and he's just kind of dumped. It looks like they just dumped him inside the tub. Like he just like just the way he's just like laying in the tub. It looks very uncomfortable, and it's like, couldn't you guys have like given him like a bed or something? Or like, I mean, this is a farmhouse, right? Like, couldn't you like at least let him rest in some hay or something? Like, it looks like you guys just dumped him in the tub, and it just looks very uncomfortable, and I don't know how he's supposed to be like recovering in there. But yeah, he eventually recovers. Him and Leonardo like make up and stuff, and we have a moment where Leonardo is outside and he's meditating, and he's able to connect with Splinter. And so he gathers the rest of his brothers, and he takes them out into the woods at night. They start a campfire, and they all meditate, and they're all able to hear Master Splinter. And that's when they decide, all right, we have to go back. We've been here long enough. It's time to head back and rescue Master Splinter and take down the Shredder. And so, yeah, apparently in here, it's only been like, I think 10 days or so. In the original comic, it was like months, right? Yeah, because like seasons pass before they head back to New York. So yeah, they fix the truck, and they head back to New York. They go down into the sewers, where they see Danny hiding in the closet. And yeah, Danny basically, he talks with the turtles and stuff like that, and he sees April's sketches that she did of them. He asks her if he can have a copy, and she allows him one, so he takes it. And yeah, the turtles kind of poke fun at Casey, because Casey's complaining about the sewers, and there's a funny line where they're like, you're claustrophobic, aren't you? And then Casey's like, whoa, I ain't never looked at no dude. And they're like, no, claustrophobic, it means that you're scared of small spaces. And Casey tries to brush it off, but it's obvious that he has claustrophobia, so he goes and decides to sleep in his truck. And I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like, you would think the truck is a smaller space than the sewer. Like, the sewer is actually pretty big and open, but maybe it's just he doesn't like being underground or something. Anyways, later that night, Danny sneaks out of the sewer, and Casey witnesses him and tracks him down. And we see going back to the Shredder headquarters, where he starts talking with Master Splinter. And Master Splinter reveals more of his backstory. He reveals that his master was Hamato Yoshi, that he used to have a rival, Oroku Saki, and that they used to fight over everything, including the love of this woman. But the woman only loved Hamato, and she convinced Hamato to basically, run away with her and Splinter to New York and start a new life. And they did, until eventually Oroku was able to track them down. He killed Hamato's wife, kills Hamato when Hamato shows up, And during this moment, Splinter attacks Shredder and slices his face. And in retaliation, Shredder slices off part of Splinter's ear. And yeah, he finishes this story. And Danny's like, well, whatever happened to Oroku? And he's like, I don't know where he disappeared to, but you're currently wearing his symbol on your headband. And that's when Danny realizes that Shredder is Amato. During this, Shredder shows up and he's questioning Danny, like, why are you talking to Splinter? And then he notices that Danny had taken off his headband and thrown it on the floor earlier. And he notices that and he's questioning, like, where were you? And Danny's trying to lie and tell him, oh, nowhere. And then that's when Shredder pulls out a piece of paper that Danny had in his pocket that has a sketch of the turtles. And he realizes that the turtles are back in New York. And so he sends out the Foot Clan to go chase after the turtles, as well as he tells Tatsu to kill Splinter. During this, Casey has snuck in to the Shredder base. He has taken out one of the Foot Clan, worn their outfit, and he finds Danny and he asks him, like, what the hell's going on? And that's when Danny says, like, we have to save Splinter. They want to kill him. And so Casey shows up, saves, he like unchains Master Splinter, tells Splinter, like, I'm a friend. That's when Tatsu shows up and we have a fight scene. And Tatsu is basically beating the crap out of Casey when Casey eventually finds a golf club and he uses it to knock out Tatsu. And then some of the other teenagers are there and they're like, well, let's jump him. And then Casey kind of calls them out and basically says, like, the Splinter doesn't care about you. Not Splinter. The Shredder doesn't care about you. He's just using you for, his own gain and stuff. And he's basically able to convince the teenagers to not fight. Yeah, that's when we cut to the Foot Clan, and the Foot Clan start attacking the turtles at their home base in the sewers. And we get a fight scene there with the turtles fighting off the Foot Clan. They fight the Foot Clan through the sewers. Eventually they fight him onto the city streets, and eventually the fight leads to the rooftops. The turtles just start beating the crap out of the Foot Clan. They're able to easily defeat all of them, and so the Shredder shows up and they're like, we're gonna be able to easily fight this guy. They poke fun at his outfit and stuff like that, and they basically take turns trying to attack the Shredder, and the Shredder just beats them like one by one. And eventually he defeats all of them. He has Leonardo on the ground and he has a spear at Leonardo's neck. And he basically tells the turtles, like, toss away your weapons or I will kill Leonardo. And the turtles do. They toss all their weapons. And as they're tossing their weapons, Michelangelo's nunchucks actually hooks onto the rooftop ladder. And that's going to play a part in a moment. Shredder basically taunts the turtles. He says, like, if the three of you had attacked me together, you probably would have been able to avenge your brother. But now, instead, you're all going to suffer the same fate as him. And he basically raises the spear to attack and kill Leonardo when Splinter shows up. And Splinter basically realizes that it's Oroku, and Oroku discovers that this was the rat that had scarred me. So he pulls off his mask, revealing his scar on his face, and he charges at Splinter. And Splinter uses the nunchucks that had hooked onto the ladder to wrap around Shredder's spear and tosses him over the rooftop. And he's basically dangling Shredder over the roof. And Shredder goes to, he pulls out like a tonto and he throws it at Splinter, but Splinter dodges and lets go of the nunchucks, and Shredder falls off the rooftop into the back of a dumpster truck, and then Casey just casually turns the truck crusher on and slowly crushes the Shredder to death. And I was like, okay, that's kind of a messed up way to kill the Shredder. I do wish that it wasn't Splinter who had taken out the Shredder. I don't know. I just kind of feel like that kind of diminishes the Turtles, victory, because they basically, they beat up the Foot Clan, but they get their ass kicked by Shredder, and Shredder only gets beat by Splinter. It's not the Turtles fighting together, it's Splinter. And I wish it would have been the Turtles instead. I wish it would have been the Turtles fighting together as one. Like they realized we can't beat him single-handedly, but if we work together as brothers and fight as one, then we can beat him. I think that would have been better. I do think the comic, you know what? Maybe the dumpster version was better, just in the way he died. Because in the comic version, they toss him off a roof. Well, they stab him. They toss him off a rooftop, and they toss him off a rooftop as he pulls out a thermite grenade and pulls the pin. So he falls, hits the ground, and explodes. And wow, that was really brutal because, I mean, in the comic, you actually see Shredder's, his body is just like pieces everywhere. It always was kind of weird that a ninja would have a thermite grenade. Then again, in the comics, we see the Foot Clan using machine guns and stuff like that. And I guess the movies wanted to stay more faithful towards, the whole ancient Japanese teachings and stuff by just having, Japanese weapons. So a thermite grenade wouldn't make sense. But yeah, I kind of wish it would have been in the Turtles. I kind of wish it would have been the Turtles fighting Shredder. Maybe they fight together, they stab him, and he's kind of like stumbling back, and then he falls. He stumbles, hits the rooftop ledge, falls down to the floor below. Maybe not even have him fall into the trash compactor. Maybe just have him like he falls and he hits the floor and he's dead. And then all the teenagers are gathered around there watching, and they just see like the dead body of Shredder. And then that's when the cops arrive. Like that would have been like a cooler version. I mean, not gonna lie, having him get crushed in a dumpster is pretty dark and also really cool. But yeah, I just kind of wish that the Turtles had done it instead. But yeah, he falls into the trash compactor. Casey Jones flips the switch, crushes him. The police arrive. April's boss arrives, says that, she's rehired and he wants her to report on the case. And Casey and April, they have a kiss as the Turtles watch from the rooftops. And they're all happy and celebrating. They're all coming up with, like, names and stuff like that. Like new cheers, like, Tubular. That was excellent. And then Donatello's trying to come up with one, but he's kind of stumped. And then that's when Splinter is like, you know what? I always liked Cowabunga. And then he starts laughing, and all the Turtles like start laughing. And then Splinter says, like, ha, I made a funny. And then it ends. And it ends with the most late 80s, early 90s movie soundtrack that you can possibly hear. And it's like I was listening to it, and I was like, oh, it's not as. Actually, you know what? The Go Ninja Go was better. But, oh my God, this is just such a cheesy outro song. And once again, I'm just thinking, I really wish that Steve Barron had got his final cut in the movie. Please, anyone out there, anyone who has any access, I think it's Warner Brothers now, right? Yeah, they're the ones who have the license to the Ninja Turtles. Please bring Steve Barron back and allow him to do his director's cut version of this movie, because I really want to see how that goes. I want to see his grittier, darker version with, the punk theme and soundtrack, with more scenes of the farmhouse and stuff like that. Like all the deleted scenes, put them back in, like show his version of what he wanted. I don't care if if you guys find it too dark and gritty. I want to see that. I want to see how he originally envisioned the movie, because yeah, he basically wanted to just adapt the comics. I would have liked to see that. But with that said, still a great movie. Still, in my opinion, the best comic book adapted movie. Ninja Turtles, the TMNT CGI movie, Blade. Those are up there as like my favorite comic book adapted movies. Of course, obviously, you got to go with Christopher Reeve's Superman, especially the first two. But yeah, in my opinion, Ninja Turtles, best comic book movie. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I had there's some faults with it. I've shared them throughout this video, but all in all, just it's still a fantastic movie that holds up by today's standards, especially the costumes. Oh, it's so great. And to think that's a movie that came out in the 90s, this is 30 years ago, and it still holds up. Like the special effects and things like that still holds up. Like that's pretty crazy. Like it just goes to show how amazing Jim Henson was, him and his crew back in the day. But yeah, there you go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1990 movie. Check it out if you guys haven't already. Like it was fantastic. And yeah, I think this is just a great way to end this volume one series, since since this movie was basically an adaptation of a bunch of those comics, specifically like the first three issues, the Me, Myself, and I micro series, the forgot the name of the arc, but the arc where they attack April's apartment and then run to the farmhouse, and then the Return to New York, that arc as well. They didn't do the City at War or anything like that, but to be honest, I think Return to New York was a good way to cap off the movie, because you have the final showdown with the Shredder and stuff like that. But yeah, fantastic movie. I don't know what else to say. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed the review of Volume 1 of Mirage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you guys want to see me continue with Volume 2 and then also touch on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, let me know. If there's an interest in that, then I'll do that. Otherwise, yeah, I think this is a good way to cap off that series. And that's all I got to say. Hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, everybody, and I hope to see you next time. Later.